Okay, we should be live. Let's wait and see. Wait and see. Okay, we should be live. Let's wait and see. Okay. Let's wait and see. Boom, we're live. Ooh, I can't comment on my own stream. This is jokes. Okay, let's go back to what's going on here. Here we go. Right. I think the streaming to everywhere is going fine. I hope it's going fine. If you're joining, let me know. Apparently there's 12 people on LinkedIn. If you are actually here, let me know. Then I can make sure everything sounds good. I'm also mainly streaming to YouTube, which is actually what most people will be tuning into. So let me know how that goes. It'd be great to have some feedback. Duga, hello. How are you? Jasmine, hello. New to the channel, but you started following when you saw one of my posts about Tableau on LinkedIn. Happy to be here. I'm happy to be here too. Thank you for joining. It's fantastic to have so many people excited and interested in the session today. I have not planned this at all, hence you can see this live stream plan, which is just this sort of note I prepared whilst walking the dog. It really is a rough agenda, but we'll try and make sure that we make it interesting for everyone. What I think I can do is if I go over to this view here, we can actually see the comments. And what I'll try and do is I'll try and make this larger, because I think the idea is that when people start joining us off LinkedIn, the comments will also show up here. I hope the LinkedIn comments work. No one has left a comment on LinkedIn, so I can actually see that. Roberto, hello. How are you? From Salesforce/Tableau. Thanks for the great wish to the end of the year. It's fantastic to have people interested. I always kind of think that the majority of my audience, I secretly think the majority of the audience is actually inside of Salesforce Tab, but if that's not the case, I'd love to hear from people. Let me know what they think. All I definitely know is when I post a video about anything to do with Salesforce or Tableau in general, it's normally the Salesforce crew that are first to respond. And actually, I'll show you some interesting stats on LinkedIn that kind of affirm what I'm thinking. So absolutely fantastic. Right, we're still sort of ramping up. We'll give it like, we're not supposed to start until 7:45, so we'll give it another few minutes and then we'll kind of go from there. For everyone who is joining, if you're joining on YouTube, are you able to just give me sort of a thumbs up, yes or no? Is the sound okay? Can you hear me okay? Do I need to speak louder, quieter? Can you hear the music in the background? Is it annoying? All that kind of stuff. Let me know what you think. I'd really, really appreciate that, and then we'll make sure we can get going. What I have done, if I actually let's bring this over to desktop number 3 here. Let's bring everything to one place so we can make sure everything is good. What I've done is I've put together a rough agenda. I really don't know what people are interested in when it comes to sort of a YouTube channel, so there will be an AMA section, but I encourage you to ask questions all the way through the session today. And then what that will allow me to do is to kind of field the questions, kind of put the right questions in a group, make sure everything's working. I'm probably going to just start off by just recapping the year in terms of YouTube stats, so you'll get a chance to see my YouTube channel backend, where you can see all the fun numbers and stats about the people who watch the videos, the content that gets watched. I'm going to talk a bit about that down here in the strategy in the mix. I'll talk a bit about Tableau/Salesforce. I think this year I've been making a mistake. I think everyone's been making this mistake, and I just want to sort of clarify it here in terms of approach with content and everything else. And then I want to talk about the Tableau Pulse launch because it's weirdly in beta and there is no videos on my channel about it. And normally I'm the channel you go to when there's something new with Tableau. So we'll talk a bit about that. It's a little bit frustrating, at least from my perspective, but we can touch on that. And then the general stats for 2023. It's always interesting what people think. People watch on my channel versus what actually happens. And so there's actually been a very interesting shift this year, more than any year. The year has completely changed the audience that YouTube thinks my channel has. And as a result, I'm starting to get penalized for not serving that audience over the core audience that I've always served. So we'll talk a bit about that. Content strategy, content mix, becoming a media company. This is something I really only realized 6 months ago, so I'm going to talk a bit about that. Got a super exciting project I want to share with you towards the end. This will be sort of where I think 50% of my effort will go next year. You're probably wondering, what does 50% mean? I'll talk about that, and then ask me any questions. So as people sort of pile in and you're watching, and as we start to go through this, there'll be questions. I appreciate there'll be lots of people who are probably watching this after the fact. So if you watch this after the fact and you want to drop a question in the comments, you're more than welcome to do so. But we're pretty much there. So let's just check out the last few comments. Hello Mensa, George, Jasmine. Thanks for the sound check, Jasmine. Perfect. Peter Maduko, preparing for Tableau Certified Business Analyst, but I'm having some challenges. That's what I need your assistance on, please. This won't be the stream for that, unfortunately. Peter, I'm pretty sort of firm on that because I actually have tons of content. So you can very easily find what you need to find already out there. On the certifications, this is probably, I'm going to add this in. So Tableau certifications. I have done, up until a year ago, I had done every single certification available on this planet for Tableau. I'd recertified all but one multiple times as well. And this year, I just let all of them expire because I think there's something strange going on with certifications, and I kind of just want to touch on that. So I've added it to the points on here. That's not to say that obviously certifications aren't important. They're important, they're required. Lots of people want to get involved, but yeah, certifications have kind of hit me in a bad place, and I kind of want to talk about the dynamic that I see. So I'm going to try and sort that out. Rohan, hi Hanya, nice to see you here, back from your break. We should chat more about that when you're around. So I'm very jealous of Hanya. She's been traveling to lots of amazing places. So yeah, if you know Hanya, nudge her and ask her where she's been to. Good. Right, shall we get into this? So 7:46. Oh, Rohan, will there be no Tableau jobs in upcoming years? That's a great question. So let me add this to the list. Tableau jobs outlook. I don't think that's going to be the case. There'll always be Tableau jobs. You know, the example I always give, and this is a bad example, it puts Tableau in a bad light, but the example I always give is that there's programmers out there who program languages that have not been developed in many years, in decades, right? So as long as someone has Tableau, there'll always be Tableau jobs. So that's not really the question. The real question is, what are the hot skills in demand right now, and is Tableau one of them? And I think that's the better question to ask. Where is the industry moving? Where is analytics moving? What are the skills to really sort of focus in on? I've touched on this a little bit in one of my videos in the past where I talk about the how to learn Tableau, but nonetheless, I'll touch on that. So there'll definitely be jobs. Don't worry. I still work in a space where Tableau is a requirement. I wouldn't be working that space if it wasn't. So we can touch on that. But I'll put this down here in the AMA section. We'll get to that. So Rohan, if you're not here later on when I answer this question, just check back on the live stream. We'll have timestamps. I'll answer all these questions. So we'll make it pretty easy for everyone to follow. Okay. Right. So let's get down to the business. Right, so let's start off with my channel dashboard. Boom, here we go. So YouTube is a very funny business. It is a business. I always like to tell people that because it's if I rewind 20 years, not even 20 years, is 20 years fair? Let's say 15 years, and maybe even 12 years. We rewind 12 years when Star Wars, I think it was episode 1 or episode 3, I can't remember which one it was. It was the most downloaded trailer of all time. The most important thing about that is that it was downloaded. It wasn't streamed, it wasn't viewed on YouTube, it was downloaded. And that was because the dial-up modems that we used to use, they just weren't good enough for streaming video. It wasn't until we moved out of the ADSL dial-up broadband system and we started to get proper internet through copper wires that this really started to sort of pick up, and streaming was actually possible. So YouTube was one of the first video websites. Then you had things like Vimeo, then you had the likes of Facebook, and then suddenly social media started to come about. But even then, video was still quite expensive. And so what YouTube did is they took a bet and they said, hey, we'll make it super easy for you to stream video, and we'll do it to you at no cost. And for that, in exchange, we'll run adverts on top of your videos. And that is the core business of YouTube. And that is essentially what this whole entire sort of back-end interface is sort of optimized to get you to focus in on. How can you drive up your view count so that you can get more ad revenue, so you can then get more people watching your content and get better reward? That is the fundamental business behind it. But for most channels, in fact, I know for a fact that on my channel only about 50 to 60% of people are viewing it with ads. That number is dropping because the number is increasing actually because YouTube is clamping down on ad blockers. So you can no longer use ad blockers in certain parts of YouTube. They're kind of going back and forth on that. But anyway, nonetheless, this entire channel backend is designed to sort of focus you in on performing better. So when I log into my YouTube studio, this is what I see. I see the last video. It's got this really frustrating score out of 10. This is brutal because the majority of my videos are not 1 out of 10s. And so the best way to think about it is, like, if you upload a video and you get anything less than 8 out of 10, it's kind of like saying to you, yeah, this video you've just uploaded, it's the worst 1 out of your last 10 videos. That's kind of what that is. And so if you look at this little section, you click on it, you can kind of see where my typical video views perform. So let me just turn the music down because I can hear it myself and it's actually getting annoying. Hopefully that's okay for everyone. But anyway, if I click on this, you'll see that you get this range. The range isn't going to stick up whilst I hover over it. So I'll just do this. If I put my cursor where this is right now, you'll see the typical range is 580 to about 1,000 views per video. So when I launch a video, that's a rough range. Typical is roughly in the middle. And then 2K is what this one got. So this one got 2.1K. Now, this is going to perform better. It's a generic topic. I'll come back to content mix later. But what performed the worst? Finding issues in Tableau on the known issues page. You might think 473 videos, that's views. That's not really that good, and it's not going to be good because no one comes excited to Google or YouTube to watch a video about how to find out what issues are, right? Like, you tend to find issues based on what the issue is. So this is a bit of an obscure video, but there's a purpose behind this video, and that is, I think, over a long period of time. I'm thinking 5 or 6 years. This video will get a lot more views than maybe some of these other ones, because if you get stuck and you search specifically for this problem, you'll find this video. And so what I can do with this video is link to it, reference it in other videos, show people, I can refer to it. So that's really why it's been created. Some of my other videos, they get quite low view counts. And this is what I was saying to you about being punished by YouTube for not making videos for my core audience. And my core audience, I'll get to what that is now. And I'm going to describe it as YouTube sees it, not as I think of it, if that makes sense. So my core audience is anyone who watches the channel, frankly. Everyone's welcome. These view counts are about half of what they used to be over time. And, my view counts for new features in Tableau used to be up here. Now, it could be for 2 reasons. Either people aren't as excited about Tableau, hence there was a question earlier about whether it's a skill to be worried about. I don't think that's the issue. The second one is I might be making worse videos. Okay, that's quite possible. The third one is YouTube wants me to be making different videos, and its algorithm is down-tuning the visibility of certain videos and up-tuning the visibility of other videos because it perceives my audience to be interested in those. So what are the levers that YouTube uses to understand those things? Well, actually, some of them are here on this page. So if we look at the view count is broken down into interest in the actual video. So I'll show you this in a second. But the main one is actually the view duration and the click-through rate. These two metrics pretty much drive the entirety of YouTube. And YouTube use these to get signals. If a video has a high click-through rate, that means the thumbnail and the title are super well designed, really interested, and it communicates typically what the person wants to see. So for this video, it was 4%. So of the thousands of people that saw this, 4% actually clicked on the thumbnail. A good thumbnail will push that number higher. Average view duration meant that once people got into the video, the average amount of time they spent was about 3 minutes 25 seconds. So that's essentially what that does. And so if we go into the analytics for this video, you get a more detailed breakdown. And the detailed breakdown that I was going to point out is actually here at the bottom. So it's actually down here. But the thing about this is not what you see first. So let me go down, like for each video, I get this breakdown. So for each video at the top, you can see 2.1 thousand views. You see a general trend just here that shows you sort of the general trajectory of my videos. So I get like, what is it? Up to 1,000 videos maybe in the first, where are we? In the first 18 days. And then after that, it's like a slow trickle and it just sort of keeps going. But actually with this video, there's a really interesting thing that's happened, which is it started higher. So the trajectory is higher, which means this tail off is actually going to be a lot longer and way more consistent. So, you know, if I just draw this off screen and I just do this, okay, you'd be able to say, well, this video is going to get 5,000 views or 6,000 views over time. But that's actually not correct, because what happens over an even larger amount of time is something even more interesting, which is it takes the algorithm about 90 days to figure out who likes your videos. And then once it's figured that out, it just sends that video to everyone it thinks matches that profile. So you actually get a second hockey stick that starts to happen, like a new trajectory. And what that can do is at about, what, say, day 90, you start to see this, okay? So you kind of think your video is dead and then it goes off. But that's only for good video. Only for good videos does that happen. So that's the view count. Watch time, the most important metric. How much time have people spent actually watching this video? And so you can take watch time and views and do the maths to get the average view duration for a video, okay? So I'm honestly sometimes like truly amazed how much time people spend on these videos. And it kind of really puts pressure on me in a huge way, because if you think I've made this one video about embedding, okay? It's only 10 minutes, but 118 hours have been spent watching this video. And if you think about it from like an advice perspective, you think about doing a talk or a presentation, you might do that to an audience of 100. Well, the thing YouTube does here is it just scales that to another level. This 10 minutes of content can just be scaled to as many people who wants it. YouTube is generally available at any corner of the earth that has an internet connection good enough for, let's say, 720p streaming, right? Like, that's how available this video is. And YouTube does the hard work of that. Now, the cost of that is not free. I'll come back to that in a second. But nonetheless, that's just incredible reach for what I think is a fairly niche topic, if you think about it. So yeah, that's that. And then for each video has an impact on my subscriber count. So for example, this video, it encouraged 20 people to hit the subscribe button. Maybe because I asked them, maybe because they just liked the video and they liked it. You don't really know what it is, but generally speaking, this video is good. It's adding subscribers to my overall subscriber count, but it's nothing like the numbers that I kind of get on a daily basis. This isn't like the view counts here, and individual videos tend to not be the driver for big subscriber jumps. It tends to be what I call whale videos, and those are a little bit harder to explain. So I'll show you that in a second. And then the estimated revenue. So this is essentially how much money comes in to the channel and subsequently me and my business from the ad revenue. And you're probably thinking, hey, Tim, you make videos and you make money out of these videos. Well, yes, this is revenue. This is not profit. We'll get onto profit later. It's completely non-existent. But anyway, you know, put it this way, consulting is a much better, career than making videos on YouTube. So I'll come back to this revenue number in a second because it's super important because it kind of does actually decide the balance of everything. But anyway, you get to YouTube, you get this sort of very nice, simple sort of setup, and these are like your 4 metrics, and then each one has an individual tab at the top. So for each video, you can then say, okay, well, let's look at the reach this one video got, and you can go in and you can click through, and you can kind of see, oh, this is how it helped, this is how it worked. For example, this one on unique viewers did really, really well. Look at that little sort of increase there. But if I just go on views, you can see it generally follow the same profile. So actually, this was a really, really good video when it launched, and now all of this traffic here is basically people discovering it on search. So you can kind of also see the impact that I have through my social channels to get people to watch a video. It's actually quite big. When I post something on LinkedIn, Twitter, whatever, it tends to have a really good impact, and people generally see that. So I can get 500 views out of the gate. The other thing is that obviously I have a large subscriber count, so that also counts this, but actually this is a tiny percentage of that subscriber count. It's not even 1%, so it's not sort of the full picture. And then you have like a view of all the places that comes from. Google search for external sites is always top. LinkedIn is again second to that. Twitter is basically non-existent. I don't really even bother with Twitter. They should really change this to X in my opinion, but hey ho. And then engagement is just things like watch time, view duration. It actually shows you the fluctuation. So what you can sometimes have is a really different number in the early days compared to the latter days, because the early days are the people who know your content, the people who know what's going on. And then your latter days are more generally people who want to know more about it in detail. So people who are discovering this based off Google searches. And so you can actually get variation in this over time. Let's say Tableau do a big splash on embedding and they spend a ton of marketing money on embedding as a concept. This number would also change because then my video might come up in searches and people might watch it. Anyway, that's sort of the overview of everything. I think I did audience. This is sort of the general, this is just one video, remember, so I get this for each and every video. I get the split between unique and returning viewers. You can see this one, the returning viewers, the new viewers is very low here. So actually this was almost all entirely, people who already subscribed to my channel on this one. And then the revenue tab, this used to be split in two. You used to get estimated revenue, and then you used to get something called CPM and RPM. They've kind of gotten rid of that and only given you one number, which is the revenue that you get. But actually what actually happens is that YouTube charge advertisers a certain amount of money. That money pays for the hosting and the distribution of the video in general. And then that is split 60-40 between you and YouTube. I think YouTube takes the 40%. And I keep 60%. So this revenue is the 60% from the advertising revenue from the video, if that makes sense. And so you can kind of see here, on average, for each 1,000 views that I get, I generate £7.57. I live in the UK, so this is in pounds. So if I did 1 million views, I would get £7,570. That's the basic way to think about it. And so that's why you can see people like Mr. Beast are actually printing money with their view counts, because so many more people are interested in the kind of stuff they make. So yeah, making videos about Tableau on YouTube at least, okay, great fun for education and everything. It's not a money-making thing at all. We'll get into that in more detail. But the thing I wanted to sort of get to is actually this. So when I make a video, this is sort of what I live and die by. And I think a lot of people make videos and don't pay attention to this. And it's actually hard to know what works until you've done it a few times. One of the most common questions I get is, hey, I'd love to start making videos. What tools do I use? What software do I need? Doesn't matter. Brutally does not matter. What matters is what happens to the content and what people are interested in. You could make a video on the worst, screen recording software, and people might get frustrated with it. But if it genuinely helps them, they'll sort of persevere through and they'll watch it. I've actually had this where people said, "Man, I had to sit through that 15-minute video of yours because you had loud music on, but thank you for the help." I've actually had comments like that because there was a phase where I tried music on the channel. So it's a super interesting thing. But what I like about this video is that I can generally say that 33% of people make it over halfway. And the 20, a good percentage. This is a pretty good sort of chart, and you can kind of see my typical retention. And there's a moment in these chapters where these lines are chapters basically in the video. So there's a moment where people come back, and I can actually, take the playhead to that point. If I just start playing that, and it shows you that whole thing. So it's actually this exact moment when I'm showing people how I'm embedding something on the page side by side. And I think people really sort of find that interesting. So what that tells me is maybe I should make another video specifically on the process and technical sort of capability of embedding as well. So that's super interesting. By the way, I keep looking that way because I moved my camera over there, and I just have this habit of looking that way. So I keep looking in the wrong place, but nonetheless, that's essentially what happens. Anyway, if we go back to the landing page, which is where we started, this is just the dashboard landing page. You see a bunch of other stuff, the community tab, members, recent activity, comments, overview. We're at 81,000 subscribers. 3 weeks ago, we hit 75,000. I don't understand what's going on with the subscriber count right now. In 3 weeks, we've gone from 75 to 81. I just don't understand it. And if I then take you to the, let's go to the content one, because this is really boring. It's just all the videos in chronological order by page. So you don't need to really know much about this, other than you can see my like counts, dislike. There's always some videos where I was like, come on, who hit dislike on that video and why? I'd love to know why they hit dislike. I wish you could sort of give the creative feedback. Is it because you didn't like the feature, or is it because you hated the video? I want to know about the ones that hate the video. But you don't get that detail anymore. These are hidden because what used to happen is people used to get abused, essentially, with dislike attacks. So a creator would say to their fans, go dislike this video, and you'd get a ton of dislikes, and that person would get demoralized because you'd log into the back of this and you'd see 98% dislike or something like that, 1% like. And it just it wasn't good for mental health. So they kind of moved it and made it a creator only thing. Anyway, the analytics tab. This is where the numbers truly, truly live. So if we were to go, and if I just go back to my agenda here, so YouTube stats for 2023. What we can do is we can say up here, let's go, we can actually just do 2023. Last 365 days would be better, but let's just do 2023 because this is not going to change. It's 29th of December. We've only got 2 more days. So in 2023, we did 1.2 million views. Huge number. I literally cannot believe that, in my opinion. Like when I started this 3 years ago, I just did not think I could reach 1.2 million views. Like, I didn't even know that there's that much interest in Tableau, frankly. I know that sounds almost rude to an extent, given how much I use the product. But it's just phenomenal the reach this has. I don't, Twitter, blogs, nothing has this kind of reach other than google.com. And that's a really important point. And I only realized this in my second year of using the channel. Like, YouTube is the second largest search engine. That is the way to think of it. So if you're making content, would you rather put it on a site that doesn't serve as a search engine, or put it on a site that does serve as a search engine? Now, to get content on google.com, you have to create a website, a blog, go through all that process. And if it's really, really good, it gets ranked highly. But YouTube is the cheat code, because YouTube is the only search engine that allows you to make content specifically for it. So if you think of that, you can reach so many people, because the same place where you're posting the video is the same place people are searching. And that is actually what drives the majority of the traffic. I'll show you this in a second. About 60% of the traffic that I get on these videos start inside of YouTube. So there's a whole ecosystem of people that only use YouTube or TikTok or whatever to access their content. So super, super crazy numbers. Watch time 102.3 thousand hours just in 2023. Now, if we let me do this. Let me screenshot this, and let's just pin this so you can see this. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this and set this to lifetime, and then we'll come back to 2023. And so what you can do is, if I do this, you can kind of see 2023 versus the lifetime. In 2023, I got half of my lifetime views on the channel. I got nearly half of my watch time hours. I definitely got half of my subscribers. And in terms of revenue, I didn't get half of my revenue, but revenue is like a weird thing, and I did some weird things that sort of go against the economics on YouTube this year. So it's like I just cannot explain the reach that YouTube has, and the potential it's got to sort of help people, partly through search, partly through the platform itself. So it's been a phenomenal year. I'm hugely grateful. Actually, one of the things you'll see, and I sort of alluded to this early on, is that there were some huge gaps, not least right now. So if I sort of highlight these gaps in blue, there's been a gap since basically November. There was a gap right at the beginning of the year, and then there've been these sort of infrequent gaps, and you might just think, oh, this is Tim having a break. And actually, it's actually been a tougher story than that in earnest. If I sort of talk about just the last month, I've got two young kids. They go to nursery. They come back. They bring nasty things. I've just been ill. I've just had no voice. I actually started recording and I sounded like Yogi Bear one day. I listened to myself back. I even spent 5 minutes just talking to the thing, and I put my headphones on to edit the video, and I was like, oh man, I can't put this out. I just sound like Yogi Bear. So I just had to stop. And frankly, only in the last week have I actually gotten my voice back. And I can talk and speak to the microphone. Thank God for this live stream. If not, I would have just sounded bunged up today. But I think that's partly health related. I need to sort of get on top of that, stay healthy and fit and all that jazz. So big push for that in 2024. These smaller breaks were actually just due to me being busy with life, if that makes sense. So they're just odd weeks here and there where something happens in life and you need to step out. And this year had a lot of those. And then I actually managed to, keep up this really nice stint here. And this was basically right off the back of this long break. I'll explain that in a second. And I managed to get this really good momentum. And the good thing about momentum is that YouTube rewards you. It kind of gets more of your content out there. So every time you take a break on YouTube, it kind of assumes that you sort of disappeared, and it stops sharing your content out. And then if I go back to this very start, so this starting period, the start of the year basically, was an absolute car crash, and it wasn't because anything bad happened. Just to cut a very very long story short, the very beginning of the year, I found out I had a very very rare form of skin cancer. Thankfully, it was found, it was dealt with, and as of 3 months ago, I got the all clear, as much as you can get an all clear with something like that. But nonetheless, in that amount of time, I went from just having a sort of a routine investigation on something, is this thing innocuous? Initially got the answer that no, it was fine, you can don't not worry about it. I coincidentally had scheduled a second opinion anyway, because healthcare in the UK is just not in a great place. So the waiting times sort of put me off, and I went and got help through another source. And in essence, they came back and said, actually, we're going to do a biopsy. They did a biopsy and they found something. So I was super grateful I got that second opinion, but it also meant that everything had to kick into action, because it's the kind of thing that once you found it, you kind of have to deal with it. It was dealt with extremely quickly. I was very fortunate. I through a funny turn of events, I ended up getting help at an institution who's supported by a charity that I'd worked at as a consultant just 3 years ago. It's just absolutely crazy. So it's so funny how these things work out in life. But anyway, I was literally going in and out of appointments. I had a patch on my shoulder, actually on this side. I actually recorded a video about the ideal version of Tableau on this. I think it was a week after the surgery, which was quite straightforward actually, because the surgery itself was, it was just done under local anaesthetic. I was awake the whole time, and it was more like a dental appointment, if I'm brutally honest. It was a very very sort of gentle procedure, if that makes sense, and it was dealt with very quickly. Anyway, that knocked me for six. I literally had a whole ton of plans, and in the YouTube world, these first 3 months are the most important 3 months. Like, if you set off the year with all the new year content on a good rhythm, it just compounds over the year. So in essence, April, May was my sort of new year. And then I also changed jobs partway through this. And what these sort of other gaps are is also just work and life being busy at the same time. So having to maintain all of that was pretty tough. But bearing in mind I have a full-time job, this YouTube channel is something I do on the extra at this sort of time. It's 8 p.m. here in the UK. This I think was a pretty good year in terms of content. I didn't make as many videos as I planned to. I didn't make as much sort of impactful content as I'd planned to, but the great thing about that is when you have these ideas, they're not going anywhere. I can still do them. It doesn't matter if someone else does them either, because in my opinion, on at least on YouTube, is that multiple people can have an opinion on the same thing and still both put out videos. And if you've ever watched a tech review, you tend to watch both of them, right? You don't just watch it from one person, you watch it from 5 people. So I did sort of struggle a little bit, mentally with watching other people do types of content that I was going to do. I just hadn't had time to sort of kick into action. But I also was happy to see that other people are sort of taking to the platform and putting their own ideas out and making fantastic content. So that is like a high level view of 2023. Yeah, it was a super interesting one. Let me just make sure that my comments are still showing. Yeah, they're still there. Cool. And what is LinkedIn doing? 6 people. Good. My worst nightmare would be like for this stream to have died 10 minutes ago, and I didn't realize. So let me move this comment thing off screen, because I think I'll just miss comments unless I put them here. If I go to my top content this year, so what is Tableau? 222,000 views this year. There's a weird dynamic going on with that. So I'm gonna just ignore this video for now. This is what I call a well video. Well video shouldn't really be considered as part of your general video count, because they are sort of they are real exceptions. You can't make a YouTube channel out of whales unless you're Mr. Beast. Okay, so it's just not feasible. Also, that video took me a whole week, and by week I meant 9 to 5 for a whole week, Monday to Sunday. I took time off to make that video, and the impact really has shown. Now, if I was to try and make a living doing that kind of video just about Tableau, I'd run out of content within 4 months. It's just the way it is. So I can't do stuff to that level. On the broader datascape, there's definitely enough content to be doing there. So maybe that's an idea for the future. But for now, this idea is parked, and we are revisiting it because software, technology, lots of things have changed. I have a much better way of doing this, and this video needs updating. So we're just going to sort of strike that. That said, on the 12th of Jan 2023, the very beginning of this year, I actually recorded and planned this video right out of the gate. So we had this Tableau desktop crash course, and this was fantastic. This was just a wild idea. And it came from the very fact that I saw lots of people doing 5-hour courses on Tableau, and I was like, man, I can do that. And not only can I do that, I think I can edit it better and do it as a live event like I'm doing now, and teach people as if I'm right there, rather than this sort of planned piece of content where you edit it together after the time. I just did the whole thing back to back. We edited it. It took me a whole week to edit it, and we pushed it out. We've done 94,000 views, 21 minutes on average watched. If I go into the metrics for that, we can see here that people generally do watch it. These numbers are a lot lower, but for a long piece of content, which is this is a 4-hour video nearly, this is very good. So, and you can see the peaks where people are watching, and spending an average of 21 minutes watching it is perfect, because what that means is people are watching it in segments. You can kind of think as a watch session as basically what that's actually about. So when people come on and watch it, they're watching it on average for 21 minutes at a time. And they're watching roughly 10% of it, which means they're picking what they want. But this is a great video for showing you that trajectory I was talking about. So initially, for the first, let's say, 118 days, it's very, very it's got one trajectory, and then the YouTube algorithm decides, right, I know who's going to really like this. And the trajectory changes ever so slightly. It's sort of not quite the same as what it started out to be. If I sort of draw those two lines, you can kind of see the difference in that. So the algorithm has a genuine impact and lift on what's going on. And then the other crazy thing about this is that now that I've made it, like, people are watching this video every single day. in the last 48 hours, this is the number, 678 people. So if you think about it, 678 people spending an average of 21 minutes. That is a lot of time being accrued every single day, just learning Tableau. And this is a zero to dashboard course. It's supposed to bring people into the world of Tableau. It's not really supposed to be this, 6-hour monster crash course and everything you need to know. It's not like a 10 level drill down video. It's none of that. It's purely like, you've never heard of Tableau. You're only going to watch this video, and by the end of it, you need to be able to build a dashboard. That's what this is. So it's super, super important. The watch time, pretty much the same. Subscribers, nothing interesting there. This is a subscriber growth video, actually. So you can see that the change in trajectory once the algorithm sort of starts to show people. And actually, this is a good example of, this is where I was before the algorithm sort of kicks in. And if I just draw that line, you can kind of see that, I would have got 1,600 subscribers over the same amount of time had the algorithm not given it that lift that you can kind of see very clearly. This lift gives it more exposure to more people, and those people should want to subscribe to the channel as a result. So that makes a lot of sense. And the revenue, this is one of those weird videos where the revenue just about starts to make sense. I spent, 4 days kind of planning this out. I didn't do like a lot of planning. It was just me sort of trying things out, going through a rough order, mucking around in desktop, sort of trying things out. I was going to do it all again in the live stream anyway, and just sort of work through bullet points as I did. And then I spent about a week and a half editing it. So this video, along with a couple of others, are probably the only videos where the time spent and the revenue that you get back kind of equate to like an actual decent living wage, if that makes sense. But it's an absolute whale of a video. It's a completely different ball game. So all of these other ones don't really make that cut at all, and some of these are older than this year as well. So super important to bear that in mind. The only 3 videos that I made in 23 that made it to the top 10 for this year are the Tableau GPT videos, how to build a scatter plot, and Tableau desktop crash course. So super, super interesting there. So let me just check the contents. I don't know how to say this correctly. Is it Anthonaswa? I don't know how to say that. If you're able to put a phonetic spelling of your name in the comments, that would be fantastic. I don't want to get your name wrong, but I'll read your question out. Hey Tim, I wish you a healthy long life so that we learn from you in the future. Question, is YouTube paying at gross or net of tax? YouTube pays before tax. So this is all before tax. I live in the UK, so I am taxed after the fact. And I can guarantee you, I spent more than this number on the channel in time, equipment, resources, editing, my laptop. Just this number does not equate to that. I can kind of go into the business a little bit later. I'll talk a bit about that later on when we talk about the media business. So I'll come back to that. But long story short, if I only lived off YouTube revenue to sort of run this channel, I would probably be a year or 2 behind in terms of like the production levels that I've been able to achieve, and I'd probably not have been able to work with companies like LinkedIn. So there has been some genuine investment from me on top of this to kind of get certain things across to a certain standard that then enables other other parties to be interested, to then make this an actual capable thing. And we can come into this a little later on. Money on YouTube is always a funny one to discuss, but I'm happy to talk about sort of these numbers in more detail. So we can get into that. But I want to get through all the 2023 stats first. So YouTube 2023, that is pretty much it for a nutshell. If we just go through this, let's just see more here. This is actually a more detailed breakdown. You can kind of see the top videos. This is last 28 days. Let's just do 365 days. So you can see the fall off is huge, right? Like to really be getting any sort of income from YouTube, all of these videos have to be doing 100,000 views once a week. That's not happening. The bottom 50 of these, just no. So it really goes back to, and I've done this many times, which is why I'm not talking about it today. I did a talk at several user groups actually. I've done a talk I think I did a talk. I did a talk internally in our company actually at Aimpoint. They're absolutely fantastic. They wanted to know more about how I make content, so I did a talk internally at our company about sort of what goes on here and how it works. I also did a talk at the Veterans Tableau user group in America. They actually gave me this. They gave me this really cool challenge pin. Let me just hold it to the camera so you can see it. Let's just do this. Let me also, I think I can do this. Yeah, let's change the camera. There you go. So they gave me this really cool pin, and it's so cool because it has two sides, right? And it's fantastic. And it's the first time I've ever been given something for doing like a Tableau user group talk, and it kind of knocked me for six because I wasn't expecting it. I just love doing talks to help people, and that's actually what this is all for. I love the reach YouTube can give you, and I love the exposure that it can do. But actually, you can see the weird things that are happening with the video that I was mentioning over here. There's just there's some some very weird things happening. So we'll get into that a little later on, and I can kind of explain that a bit more. Right. So what else? Watch time. Yeah, there's not really much to sort of look at in here. Content. There are some interesting tabs here for 2023. Shorts. I tried them. I just really struggle with them. But hey, the whole world is going that way, so I'm gonna re-evaluate how I do those. I've sort of invested in a piece of software that can really help improve the quality of the shorts that I make. So I'm going to keep pushing with that and try and make a short for every type of video that I make. Subscribers, most of them are coming from normal videos. This is not the year. Let's just do 365 days again. And if we sort of drill down here, this is the fall off I was mentioning. So this is actually an important tree to sort of think about. So this is sort of how YouTube works actually in a nutshell. YouTube showed this to YouTube will show my videos 15.9 million times. 3% of those people, nearly 4%, will click on one of those thumbnails. That will give me this number of views. And from that number of views, people spend on average 5 minutes watching a video of mine. And that gives you the watch time from impression hours. And so that's essentially sort of the funnel of YouTube and how it works. I'm no longer sharing my screen. This is why I have the comments on. Oh my God. Thank you so much, Jasmine, for highlighting that. So where was I? I think I came back to, I came back to the analytics tab. So I'll just go through that again. We have the watch time. There's nothing really special here, subscribers and revenue. And if I go back to last 365 days and I go to the content tab, you get this, sort of breakdown. Now, it doesn't work over a certain number of days. So I think to get some of these numbers, it only works up to 90 days. I think it's to do with aggregated details. Essentially, YouTube can only store a certain amount of data for 90 days. And then it loses it just because it would get ridiculous storing that level of fidelity over time because how fast YouTube grows. But beyond 90 days, you only get some of these numbers. So this is a sort of a fair reflection of how things work. And all I was doing was explaining this funnel here on impressions and how you basically start with nearly, let's say 16 million impressions. 4% of the people click on those thumbnails, which then gives you this number of views. From those views, people spend 5 minutes watching it, which gives you roughly 53.2 hours from impressions. There is more watch time from other types of content, but you can kind of cut this into shorts, live stream. And actually, when you go to videos, you get this breakdown of above typical introductions and below typical introductions. Below typical introductions are introductions that lose people. Above typical introductions are introductions that do well. Your top videos, all of that stuff, top moments, spikes, like moments in videos that are causing people to find out what's going on. Tableau Pulse is actually in there. So this one, if I go to this specific moment, it's likely when I'm showing how something works in Tableau Pulse. So you get a ton of data. If you ever want to know what channels do people who watch my channel watch, so if you're a subscriber of mine and you're thinking, oh, who else should I watch? Well, Andy Kriebel is absolutely at the top of that list. Andy's been making a ton of content. years, well before even I was. Andy is the original YouTuber. He's the OG Tableau YouTuber, as it were. And I think he's just left the information lab and he's gone full time on making content. So I can't wait to see what he achieves next year with all the time he's got now to put into just serving his audience, as it were. That's now his full time job. Very jealous. Maybe I can follow in his footsteps very soon. But nonetheless, after that, you got Alex the Analyst. Alex is super popular. I kind of go back and forth with Alex. Alex is a cool guy. He focuses on lots of different things. SQL, Python, Tableau is one of them. He does make Tableau content, but he makes what I would call introduction Tableau content. It's very obvious that Alex has learned Tableau through other resources. And so when you watch one of his tutorials, it's very much designed to sort of pair Tableau with something else, or pair it as part of a workflow, or really pair it as a more realistic sort of setting to being an analyst, whereas I tend to just focus on like the technical features. I'm almost too technical for a broader audience. So Alex really appeals to that large audience. You've got Datumbytes Santos, who's like literally fantastic. I can't think of anyone who has more bang for buck in terms of in terms of number of videos to subscriber count and view time and watch time and all of that stuff. I think for every 10 videos I make, Datumbytes just needs to make one to have the same sort of impact. So she's a great teacher. She's a great educator. Her style is really unique to her. You can't really replicate what she does. She's very clear. Her tutorials take you through stuff like 40 minutes at a time. It's always detail. You leave her videos feeling like an expert. It's the kind of content I aspire to make in the future if I have more time and I have a little bit more sort of what I would say craft to the way that I plan my videos. But I just don't have that sort of time and balance that it's clear that she puts into her videos. So it's super useful. Data science roadmap is new. I have not seen this in here, maybe because I've never gone to 365 days. But yeah, data science roadmap is a kind of like a new channel. Penguin Analytics is always in here because people watch their YouTube videos for Tableau introductions and stuff like that. Then we've got Stanley George Joseph, who's he's making a new channel, I think, as well, super popular. But this says 365 days at the top, but it says 28 days down here and then 90 days down there. So I have no idea what's going on. But it's not all in the same time frame. So that's just something to bear in mind. But anyway, super interesting detail. Most people watch around about my lunchtime or my afternoon, which is generally where you have the most overlap between all the time zones. The mornings tends to be, Asia mostly watching. The middle of the day tends to be UK, Asia, and America watching all at the same time. And then the evenings is sort of the West Coast of America and everything like that. So yeah, super interesting. Revenue, if I go to the last 365 days, essentially another detailed version of that dynamic. So this is all before taxed. So I do not get to keep all of this. I get to keep none of it, as a matter of fact. Unfortunately, it all has places to go. I'll talk a bit about that later. And then research. This is a new thing that YouTube starting to do, saying, hey, make videos about this rather than that. And so it's kind of interesting that like the videos that get thrown in here kind of come from the places and the kind of content that I don't want to make. So, go make content about Python. I don't make content about Python. Okay, let's look at videos related to Tableau. Hey, look at this video that Simply Learn is making. Look at this video that Datumbytes is making. And two of these are from Datumbytes Santos, and I keep saying that her videos are fantastic. If you look at their duration, they're 23 minutes compared to mine, which is typically 10 minutes. And then you've also got Tableau. You've got putting a video there. So that makes sense. If I go and see all, and it shows me sort of the general gist of what's going on. So it's kind of telling me make videos like this rather than just the ones you're making. So that's pretty much that in a nutshell. That's sort of 2023 summed up. If I sort of take it that way. Now, let me do this. Let me just mark this so it's super clear what I've actually covered, because I know I will forget. Where are we? Ooh, why can't I? Oh no, can I not cross this out? Strike through. Oh, that is so difficult to get to. Anyway, there you go. Tableau. Salesforce, Tableau, a Salesforce company. God, yeah, Tableau this year. I want to be careful here because I don't want to annoy people, but I think I have to talk about it. Tableau has been a funny old company this year. First and foremost, I've just made that mistake there. I called Tableau a company. Tableau stopped being a company 3 years ago. It's a product. It's owned by Salesforce. And I keep making this mistake of referring to Tableau directly as if it exists. Okay? It doesn't exist anymore. And actually, I'd go as far as to say that there have been enough changes specifically this year to Tableau, the product, and the leadership team that pushed that product to pretty much justify just thinking of Tableau as being under new management wholesale. Now, this has been happening over time. We went from Adam Silipsky to Mark. Then we had Ryan Ate step in. And there's that sort of quick succession of changes in basically 3 years. Three CEOs in as many years, actually less than that, has meant a real sort of change. Now, I don't know if Tableau have, what is it, like a leadership team, like products, partners, resources. Where is this? Do they have like about Tableau? Mission. Let's go to the mission. Does it have a leadership team page? They used to have one. Maybe we don't have one anymore. Is that really true? Am I missing something? So products, solutions, resources, partners. Okay. About Tableau, awards, recognition, careers. Let's do this instead. Let's do this. Press at Tableau. I think this will take me to Salesforce page. So if I go to the press releases and I go to the slug, does it tell me? Yeah, if I go to the about page, I can't believe this is how I'm doing it. Yeah, I don't know where it is. It used to be much easier than this. Anyway, the Tableau leadership team is pretty much entirely new. You can see how difficult it was to find it. Maybe, why am I giving up on this? Let's go Salesforce leadership team. Let's actually stop making the mistake I've been making. Let's go to the Salesforce page and look at the leadership team. You can see I'm clearly struggling with this. So this is the Salesforce leadership team. Okay, they don't have Salesforce companies. God, this is so tough. Let's go to Tableau. No, this takes me to a Tableau page inside of Salesforce. Oh, very subtle. And about Salesforce. No, I cannot find it. I don't know if it's me being an idiot. If you're watching this on YouTube and you know where I'm supposed to go to find the leadership team of Tableau, let me know, because I can't find it. It used to be easy to find. When Mark Nelson or Adam Silipsky was like CEO, it was literally a couple of clicks and I could have found it. I just can't find it. I found the Salesforce team, but what we don't see is like I was hoping to find the teams at each organization. Our values, about Salesforce, leadership. Never mind. This is becoming incredibly boring now. This takes you to this, and it's not down here. Careers? No. Contact us? Is there something here? No. Technical support. Headquarters. But nothing about the leadership team. Okay. Very strange. Anyway. Tableau, Salesforce company. I've been making a mistake this year. I need to make it less. We're going to start referring to Tableau as Salesforce. Tableau does not exist. It's a product. So Tableau can't make decisions because it's a brand and a product. Keep making this mistake. It's a bit like saying Coca-Cola the company versus Coke the drink. You can't sort of critique the drink. Drink is not running its own business. It's run by the people who run Coke. A better example would have been to say Sprite. Okay, so Sprite is owned by Coca-Cola. To critique the Sprite leadership team means you're critiquing the Coca-Cola leadership team. So I need to stop talking about Tableau and focus more on Salesforce. I think this year, more than anything, has been one of those years. If I actually go to the Tableau homepage, you'll see that one of the things that's actually here is Tableau Pulse, and this whole thing about Tableau AI. And this is actually going to be my second thing, which is Tableau Pulse is now in beta. You can learn more about Tableau Pulse. You can go to this page. You can find out lots of interesting things. To get started, you can sign up for the beta, okay, to be turned on. And this is all great if you're a customer, but if you're not a customer, which I'm not, I'm just, I guess for some bizarre reason, being part of the Tableau community program and helping teach Tableau doesn't sort of qualify as, being sort of up high enough on the list in the Salesforce process to kind of get people access to just see what it's like. It's interesting because with embedding, you can do that. There's actually embedding demos that have generic username and passwords that you can go in and see what it's like. So it's not like Tableau aren't familiar with this. I keep doing it. It's not like Salesforce aren't familiar with this. It's just a very strange dynamic. So yeah, to this day, I still don't have access to Tableau Pulse, so I can't show you anything. All I have done is talk about sort of the old pre-recorded setups of Pulse from conferences. I am 100% certain what we saw at conference was like a hybrid between the actual demos and what I call Figma demos. So Figma is it's a UX, UI design tool, and you can actually create very compelling user interface demos in it. I think what we've been seeing at conference has been the vision piece and maybe very controlled demos of small parts of it that did work, especially when you're going between screens or you're seeing emails or you're seeing Slack. But then when we saw the product itself, I think we were seeing sort of the very early days of that. And the beta is being sort of very tightly controlled to make sure that people are using it in a trusted way. I'm sure it's designed to kind of make sure that Tableau doesn't break any rules in terms of giving people the wrong insights and then people basing decisions on that. I'm sure there's a whole sort of legal rigmarole to get through, but nonetheless, been really frustrating to try and get my hands on it. My big concern with Tableau Pulse, and I'll just come out and say this now, I haven't tried it. I know some people have. They've thought really good of it. Two people that I trust have actually tried Tableau Pulse and have told me good things about it. It's made me really sort of excited to try it out. But this is the big but. This is the big but. My biggest concern with Tableau Pulse is that Tableau doesn't understand its core innovation. And I know that's a brutal thing to say, but Tableau's core innovation was never the platform. It was never sort of the fancy, drag and drop, whatever. Tableau's core innovation was helping people work through their data. You could think of it as drag and drop, but I actually go further and I'd say, as a creator, when you're in Tableau Desktop and you connect to your data and you drag things around, you write a calculation, you drag things around, you answer a question, you go to the next one, you're moving around. But that in itself, that was actually the first thing that was released. That was the core innovation that brought it to people. Dashboards was a byproduct of that. Yeah, needing to share that was a byproduct of that initial core innovation. And then the platform was a further, consequence of that. So you build something cool, you discover an insight, you want to share it. Let's put it into a dashboard. Okay, you want to get that dashboard in front of people. Oh, let's put it on a platform. That platform can be server or cloud, right? And now it's on server and cloud. Oh, let's add governance and trust on top of that. And I think where Tableau are now is they think of themselves as that latter thing, the platform. And they've got lots of platform thought, but they've just run away from that core innovation a bit too much. And as a result, my big concern with Tableau Pulse is that it's going to be fantastic when it works. And then the question will come, which will be, well, how do you make it work well? And the tools you have at your disposal, if you're only looking inside of the Tableau platform, have not been brought to the same standard as Pulse in order to get it matching and singing and dancing. And this is sort of the big frustration with a lot of Tableau features. They tend to be They tend to be really well thought through, really well conceived. Um, Even to the point where like the first thing you see is always just the initial gambit, and then over the months the devs and the product managers are just knocking it out of the park. They know their stuff. Like, I can't tell you how frustrated it is to have conversations with them where I'll turn up and I'll be like, right, I've been wanting to tell them about this, and I tell them about something and they're like, yeah, we know. Like, they all know. They all know about this stuff. The things you and I find frustrating, the things we see in the community forums, that feedback genuinely gets back to them. The issue comes around deciding what makes it onto the cutting block, deciding what gets dev time, deciding what makes it onto the product feature list. That is a very tough thing to do. And as a company, you've got to make bold bets. You know, if you ask people for a faster horse, you should have just, you know, plugged more horses onto it. I think there's a saying about that, but no one ever thought of the car, right? People wanted better phones, and we all had Blackberries with a button for every letter of the alphabet, and then Apple turns up with no buttons and just a screen, and everyone's like, wow, that's what I want, right? And then everything followed that path. So my big concern is with Tableau Pulse, it's just moving further and further away from the core innovation, and as a result, some of those other bits of the platform haven't been brought to that same level. The only exception to this, I think, is Tableau Prep. Like, I have to say this because Tableau Prep has been, for me this year, the feature that's made me the happiest in the whole entire platform. They're just doing what people want. It's so simple. They're going onto the feature list, they're solving problems, they're bringing them through, and on top of that, we're finding more and more ways to bring it into the workflow, right? So it's just so rewarding to see a part of Tableau that is literally just working through the to-do list of the biggest pains and issues. And then on the other side, we have Tableau Pulse, which it's not that no one was asking for it. It's kind of a big bold bet, and I do think technology is heading in this direction. I don't think it's a wrong sort of direction from Tableau on this. But if I still have to fight with published data sources to make Tableau Pulse work, then Tableau Pulse won't work, because many of the things that drive me insane about published data sources aren't going to get fixed in Pulse. They're just going to get exacerbated, if anything, because with Pulse, you'll get a bigger appetite for better quality data sources. And if you're still fighting with data sources the same old way, then it's just not going to sort of sing and dance. But this is all saying this without, you know, me ever trying it. I haven't tried it, haven't used it. I know there's an interface to build metrics. I've asked some questions about that ahead of time. I've even asked, you know, the product team at one point, look, what is your vision for the most optimal way to build data sources for this? Where am I doing that? Am I doing that in DBT? Am I doing it in the database? Or am I doing it in Tableau Prep? Or am I doing it in desktop? Tell me, where should I invest my time? And I still struggle to get what I feel is like a convincing answer. And I think there is one right answer. I don't think any one of those is going to be perfect, but I think one of those is going to be a lot better. And so I'm kind of looking to people and customers who are using Tableau Plus to say, hey, we found that this works really well. And hopefully over the coming months, we'll find that answer and we'll be able to sort of get to the bottom of that. Anyway, oh, I felt like I just went on a massive rant. It's not intended as a rant. It's just I'm so passionate about Tableau. There's just so many things that are just so small and simple. It's crazy. Simon has asked, what are the problems with published data sources? When you publish it, I'll do this very briefly, but if you go to the Tableau ideas, let's just very quickly do this. So Tableau ideas. I'll actually go to this because this is page. Let's say forums. Oh, have they moved this? Oh no. Is this? Have they moved this? Have they changed this? Oh, here we go. Thank God. Okay, I worry they moved it because, you know, Salesforce. Anyway, this ideas viz. They have moved it and it's not as good, but okay, fine. Maybe we go to the ideas page. Yes, okay, this is what I was looking for. So if we go to the ideas page and you search for, if you're wondering what's the problem with the feature, go to the ideas page, type in the feature, and filter to things that are still open, okay? And these are like the working list of things that, let's say, open. If I just say open, and then we sort by popular ideas, has it only got, let's just do all. I'm not seeing all of them. I'm not seeing, maybe because I put a space in data source. Let's just try this. Let's just try this. Data source. Okay, yeah, so this doesn't feel like the full list to me, but nonetheless, you'll get a good mix and feel for all the different sort of issues. I can't go through in all of them here, but this is a pretty good list of the kind of things people want to do. The other thing with them is just working with them. Once you create a published data source, especially in desktop, that is it. It's locked down. You can't do anything more to it beyond that. You can't create relationships with it. Now, relationships are a fairly relatively new feature to Tableau, but on the flip side of that is actually pretty powerful. We should be moving as many people away from doing joins and blends where it's unnecessary and using relationships because it's much more powerful. Donabel Santos has got some great videos on this. I've got some videos on this as well. Andy Kriebel's got some videos on this as well. So go check out all the content to kind of find out more about that. But to go back to my point about Pulse, if you're going to use good data sources to drive this really innovative feature, you have to give the people who build those data sources good tools. And if Tableau Prep is the answer to that, I'm not sure Tableau Prep is all the way there, even though it makes me super happy. I love Prep. I love everything about Prep. Published data sources are not quite there. Some of the other capabilities around the platform, that kind of relies on you pushing that work back to the database. And that's fine as an answer, but if that's the answer, then Tableau Pulse doesn't stand on its own. You've then got to couple it with a really good database technology, or couple it with a really good data engineering team to get the data sources working and singing so that people can actually use them properly and ask questions. So anyway, I'm going to stop there. That was a rant. I did go on for a bit too long. But we'll stop there. On to the next one. I really do have to carry on. Let's talk about Tableau certifications very, very quickly. Tableau certifications. Basically, my thing with this is that I think there's something going on with analytics companies having certifications, creating requirements, and essentially creating what I would call a side hustle out of its customers. Because those customers want to see people that are accredited and validated. And some of the charges and costs to do some of these exams are quite steep. Now, thankfully, normally it's your organization that's sometimes paying for this. Sometimes it's, if you work for a consultancy, it's your consultancy paying for it. But this all goes back to the vendor, analytics vendor, Tableau, to make these. Now, a comparator is Alteryx. Alteryx, I think the first 2 exams are free. So the equivalent of the specialist exam is free. So that means everyone can get certified, prove that they know what they're doing very easily and just get the certification done. And that's actually quite an important thing because it allows people to dip their toes in, know enough, but also have something to show for that energy and effort. Now, with the certifications, I haven't renewed any of my certifications recently at all. I once had every certification under the sun. They've changed them as well. I've even helped sort of work behind the scenes to improve some of these certifications as well. So I'm not saying that they're a bad thing. I've just gotten bored of recertifying every single year, and it's just unless I absolutely have to, I'll just I'll try not to. If I'm honest, it's just getting a little bit boring. And the platform's about to change a whole ton. So the other thing I'm worried about is doing the certification and then having things like Tableau Pulse and all this AI features come in. And then next year there's 2 more certifications. I just want this all to settle so then I can go and do it properly. So it's kind of interesting. Now there is one that's not on here on Coursera. So there is a Tableau certification on Coursera, the platform itself. That's a super interesting thing. Let's just, everything's super interesting according to my phraseology. So, Tableau Business Intelligence Analyst Professional Certificate. Here we go. I've searched it before. So this is it. This is the Coursera course. 8,000 have already enrolled. It starts on December the 20th. It starts today. Oh my word. Enroll for free. Included with Coursera Plus. How many? 8 months at 10 hours a week. Oh, that's a hefty toll, isn't it? That feels like a competitor to my YouTube channel. I better check it out. But no, stuff like this is super interesting. I would be intrigued to see what the body of content in here is like. Oh, actually, you do get it. So 8 course series: Introduction to Business Intelligence, Business Analysis, Data Ecosystem, Introduction to Tableau, Data Visualization, Advanced Data Visualization, Data Analysis. So yeah, the first 3 courses are kind of generic, and I think they might already include content made elsewhere. I'm not sure if this has all been made by Tableau. The instructor is Tableau. Yeah, Tableau Learning Partner Instructor. Tableau Learning Partner. What does that mean? That's a really interesting phraseology, isn't it? So these are all the courses. Do we get, if you've done this, let me know. I'd love to know someone who's started this. I'd love to know what the content is. Maybe I should do it. I've had some dealings with Coursera related to their Google Analytics course. I'll come to that later. But yeah, we'll move on from certifications. I'm just finding certifications a little bit tricky at the moment. So maybe I'll just sort of buckle up and do them properly. Thanos, yes, that is a much better name. My setup costs, any savings were applicable, but please don't change plans for me. Oh, no. I'll talk about the stuff here when I talk about becoming a media company. So we've gone sort of back and forth. We've done a bit of Tableau. I think I'd already done top video of 2023. Top video released in 2023. Now that is a more tricky question to answer. I need a data source to do that because again, the YouTube backend is just diabolical. But what we can do is I can go to this. Oh man, I've got so many things on my screen. I can go back here. I'm looking over my laptop, which is in front of my screen, which is why I'm looking like this. If I just go to, how many videos have I done this year? So this is Ryan Ate, CEO of YouTube, Tableau. Okay, so I think the top video released in 2023 was the crash course. The next one was going to probably be my chart series. I think they're probably the next biggest ones. If I there's no real way for me to filter to when they were. That is actually really. Am I being dumb, or no? YouTube is really that bad. No, YouTube is really that bad because only in the dashboard do you see the last 10, and there's no drill down for that. So the way I would do this is I've got an extension called vidIQ. I pay for this. It allows me to do a CSV export of an entire channel. So you'll see that it's basically doing this. And what it does is it grabs all the channel videos, not the downloads, it just grabs the names and then it gets the metadata for that video. So what this will get is the publish time for that video as well. So when this is done, we'll be able to kind of see that. Maybe I'll do it a little later on. So I'll leave that running in the background and then we'll come back to that question in Tableau maybe. I bet you my Tableau is not even licensed because I haven't opened it in a week or something and it kicks you out very quickly. So we'll come back to this. I'll leave it in there. Content strategy and content mix. Okay, so to talk about content strategy and content mix, the best way to do this is to show you a graphic that I got on my phone, actually coincidentally today, that I decided, this is actually a really good graphic to show you. So let's do this. So I'm going to open 3 images. I'm going to put them on screen. Oh, there's my CSV. Let's download that to my machine. And I'm going to sort of minimize this. So I'm going to open 3 images. And what they are screenshots from my phone, actually today at 2 o'clock roughly. And this is basically, YouTube sends you these, what do I call these? It sends you kind of alerts and then it tells you how your channel performed that week. And this was actually a hint that it dropped on my channel. So I'll actually show you the video I took of the screen recording. And can I get it to loop? QuickTime Player file. Can I get it to loop? No, I can't get it to loop. So we'll just hit play a few times. So this is basically the graphic. So it basically says, look, this is your content we consider as part of a hub. So this keeps familiar viewers happy and coming back. the new features videos. And then if we go to the next type of video, help like content, so Tableau Desktop Crash Course, that's a very sort of good group of content. And another one here could be seen as the scatterplot video, which I'd shown you. Yeah. And then the next one after that is what I call the hero videos. I call these whales, but YouTube calls these hero videos. Popular topics with big appeal. So these ones are the ones that really reach a big audience, really go out there and draw people into your channel, right? So those are the three general sort of frameworks for videos. I have traditionally only really been making hub videos and help videos. This year I didn't really make any hero videos at all. They just take too much time. As I explained, I didn't have the time, so super difficult to make. But nonetheless, it's kind of interesting because what YouTube wants you to do is to balance these and kind of schedule them. So it's basically saying, hey, help content is really working for you. You know, go and focus on hub and hero basically. So how can you complement these types of videos with the other two types? So I'm known for help content, and it's basically saying, hey, go check out these other videos, and so here's some strategies. And so that's actually very much how I look at it. Now, content on my side is done in Notion. I can't really show you that because there's some confidential stuff in there about stuff I can't share, and I haven't really checked with various people to see if I can actually share stuff with them. So I won't share that in there. But none to say, I have about like 300 videos like penciled in. That's no joke. 300 videos as a list in Notion. It's a table with basically a title. And most people start with a title, then they go to the thumbnail, then they actually make the video. I tend to start with a title, I make the video, then I decide a thumbnail, essentially, after making the video. It's a bit of a backwards process compared to other YouTubers, but that's just the way it is. And the big thing for next year is ideally just slowing down on the quantity and really ramping up the quality. So if I was to sort of put myself on a slider, I am going to be sort of making the usual, hey, this is what's new in Tableau videos. But on top of that, I also want to start making the 30-minute, 40-minute, 1 hour long crash courses that I did really well at the beginning of this year. So, beginning of 24, we'll do a Tableau prep crash course. We'll do a Tableau cloud and server crash course. And then we'll make our way through the smaller parts of the product. So we'll do something like a calculations crash course. We'll do something like a charting crash course. We'll try and build out these, let's say, more instructive videos. And the reason is because I can really, plan my way around those, and the work around that can happen irrespective of what hurdles sort of come my way, because all I need to do is find a 4-hour window to record that in one sitting, and then the editing can happen irrespective of whether I'm ill or whatever's happening. And so I want to get into a cadence where I've maybe recorded 3 or 4 of these ahead of time. Maybe I spend a weekend recording 3 of them, then I edit them over the course of 2 months, and I release them on a like a more casual cadence, interspersed with some of these more frequent here's what's new Tableau videos. So that's essentially my game plan for the year. I think that's going to work pretty well. I want to try and collaborate with more people. I want to do more stuff like this. I think this kind of content's really fun. Take up sections of the videos and just put them out and see how that works. But nonetheless, it's just really tough to kind of get this. Bearing in mind, I still work full time. I'm still a father of 2, and there's so much going on in life. This is, again, something I only do between 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. when I have the time. So I kind of have to live within those parameters as much as I can. And then this point about becoming a media company. Now, one of the things I've realized is I can't do things just on my own. It's the amount of stuff I have to do to get a video done is actually ridiculous. And I only realized how ridiculous it was when I tried to bring someone into that workflow for the first time, completely new. And it was actually crazy. When I tried to break down the steps and bring them into it, I suddenly started realizing, oh crap, I haven't done that. Oh, I can't share that. Oh, this isn't set up for sharing in that way. Or, oh no, there's just so many things. So that has been a process actually started, let's say 3-4 months ago now. So I have what is called a content producer helping out. I haven't asked them if I could share their name on the channel, so that's why I'm not saying who it is. But when I get that permission, we'll absolutely share that with everyone, and it shouldn't be a surprise for those of you who know me. I've worked with this person before as well, so it's been super fantastic to sort of get them on board. They've been immensely helpful, so I'm super grateful for having them, because essentially it's no longer just me anymore. So that's a huge deal. The number two person I need to sort of bring onto the team needs to be an editor, because the biggest bottleneck to all of this is just editing. If I spend an hour recording something, it's going to take me 4 hours editing it. If I spend 5 minutes recording something, it's going to take me 30 minutes editing it. And there's a trade-off, because I'm not a full-time editor. I'm not a professional editor. Yes, I can edit all my videos myself, and that's kind of useful when it comes to articulating points and, you know, being in control of the direction, the art style, and everything, as well as the instruction. That's super important. With LinkedIn, this is actually one of the reasons I work really well with them, because they allow me to do all of that myself. I just send them the videos and they do the editing of the videos. So all I do is record the videos and send it to them. I'll come back to LinkedIn in a second. But for my channel, I need an equivalent, because I realize that guarantees a workflow that gets content out the door. And there's probably a gap I have to fill, and that is invest a little bit in an editor myself to kind of make the economics work. But if we can get 4 months with an editor on board, we can kind of hit this cadence where we're then able to make all the videos I sort of come up with, and not have this ridiculous backlog where I'm having to pick the ones I'm sort of most passionate about. And then on top of that, we're actually able to make this like a self-fulfilling flywheel and just get more and more content out there that helps people, that then allows this to just be sort of a net benefit for everyone. For me, in terms of time, not having to spend too much time. For the editor and the content producer who are involved doing something that is interesting, challenging, getting their content out to people as well, so they can say they're part of something. And then most importantly, the actual people who need the help, people who are searching on Google, people who are searching on YouTube, wherever they're searching, they can get that out. And that's sort of been a really interesting sort of dynamic. So let me just check my comments. I think a couple of have come through. Apex Smart, looking forward to Tableau Server Cloud crash course. Will it be like the Tableau Desktop crash course? Yes, it will be. Nice and long, me going through it, live stream, then edited, yes. Snake Boy 290, that's pretty cool. I think I missed what that was in relation to. There's a bit of lag in terms of the stream, but no worries. Apex Smart, anyone can edit. I didn't have the skills to edit before I started this channel. I just made a video. Go to my first video on my channel and look how bad it is. That is not an edited video. What I do now is very heavily edited. It's super important to understand the value of editing and how much it lifts the story. But just to go back to sort of this thing, LinkedIn, I haven't talked much about LinkedIn. For those of you watching on LinkedIn, this might be actually of interest. So where is my, okay, here we go. So this did download. I'll come back to that later. If I go to LinkedIn, we can go to learning. And then if we go from LinkedIn Learning in here to my analytics. So I have 2 courses on LinkedIn. Let me just make this larger. I have 2 courses on LinkedIn. One was released last year, November, so over a year ago. Then September 25. And then we are going to do one more course with LinkedIn early in 24. This is the reach they have. So you can see that this is completely different level of reach compared to YouTube. We're not getting sort of the tens of thousands that I get on YouTube. But what is interesting, and this is sort of some inside baseball, is that it's actually these LinkedIn courses that make the business of this YouTube channel work. Because I can't tell you the numbers, but long story short, everybody's introduction to Tableau, if we go to that course, how long is that? Focus on data that help. Don't talk to yourself. Let's just call this 1 hour 14 minutes. Okay, so it's 1 hour 14-minute course. It's packaged for a professional audience, and people like the stats on LinkedIn are just so different to YouTube. People watch the stuff like really, really detailed, and they complete it. And one of my one of the great things I get on LinkedIn every time I log in is, people sort of just completing the course. So you'll see this, hey, someone just finished my Snowflake course. Someone just finished a Snowflake course, Tableau course. I get this all the time. And it's crazy. The number of people that are just constantly finishing the course because they need it for something, they need it for certification is absolutely wild. And if I go to, let's go to the analytics for, let's say, the Tableau course. You'll see that it's just, again, it's a steady line. It's very consistent. Same number of people roughly every month. Um, there is some stuff that LinkedIn does because it knows who's actually interested in learning about Tableau, where it puts the course right in front of the right people at the right time. So this kind of stuff is super interesting. This is where it's really helping people do their job. And if you're wondering how do you get access to this, you need LinkedIn Premium to get access to the courses. Once you have LinkedIn Premium, you get LinkedIn Learning for free. It's part of the subscription. So you can just go and learn anything on LinkedIn Learning, which used to be a platform called lynda.com, which should tell you that it has literally any topic on the planet. It's pretty much going to be available on LinkedIn Learning. The other way you can watch the course is to go to my profile, and you can watch it for free if you go to my profile. Let's say you don't have premium. If you go to my profile, where is it? If I go to my profile, I'll show you where specifically. One of these featured pieces of content. So here you go. These featured snippets. If you click on them, you'll go to the, let's call this the post that I made. This specific post, I can't see it, and you will be able to see it. It's just under here, there'll be an option to save it and start the course. And when you click on that from this post, you get access to it free for 24 hours. So that's something you can do. But you can also just use it with LinkedIn Premium if you've got access to that. And so, yeah, these are the numbers behind this. Anyway, what I was saying about this is that this makes the YouTube channel work. So I actually do these courses, at least one course a year with LinkedIn, and that then allows the business to actually work, for me to be able to get a decent microphone, camera, laptop, editing setup, all of that to be able to actually make the YouTube channel work. So I make considerably more, like, to give you an idea, that 1 hour, 14 minute course took me, let's say, 4 working days in total if I was to put that back to back, right? But in terms of, if I talk about it in percentages compared to the revenue that you saw, it's probably, YouTube probably only accounts for like, let's say 40% of the revenue. So this is the other half of the picture that makes the YouTube bit much more palatable and much easier to sort of not worry about, and not sort of put pressure on that being like a profit center, if that makes sense. This balances the books and just allows everything to even out. If you want to know more about my media company, you can go find out about it. In the UK, we have very sort of open accounting systems. So the company is unoriginally called TN Media Limited, TN being my initials. I literally didn't know what to call it, so I just typed in my initials and I called it Media and I called it Limited, and there we go. We have a company. The main reason for having that is 2 reasons. Number one, insurance. I make YouTube videos. I work with various companies, and one of those things is needing insurance in case you do something wrong or bad. Now, that shouldn't really happen in most cases on YouTube. If you do something bad, someone will send you a letter, take the video down, you're fine. But I actually, in older times, worked with Salesforce to make some videos for them that actually sits today in Trailblazer. So I've actually worked with Salesforce in the past to make content that is actually used as part of training equipment and training capabilities. My relationship with LinkedIn also requires me to have a pretty decent sort of business setup and accounting system. So really, I had to actually become a media company in order to work with people, because you can't just be a sole trader, as it's called here in the UK, to kind of make those things work. So I have an accountant that helps me with all this stuff, that kind of guides me through the best way to make everything work as a content creator. And the main aim of the business is to just generally not make a loss. That sounds ridiculous, but essentially, we generate some revenue, we do something more ambitious that helps teach people, and so that's actually, I'll come to that in a second, because that's what this Datumbytes.io thing is going to be about in a second. But the other final part of that picture is actually also that we're just getting to a point where if I look at YouTube channels of the same scale, of the same sort of level, I can't just keep going as I am without having an impact on me, and without sort of, um, without sort of just disappointing a lot of people all at once. And that's sort of why I'm trying to sort of slowly build up this sort of media company, so that one day I'm thinking, who knows, in the future, maybe Tableau Tim loses the Tim moniker and becomes just a generic, data and analytics brand, because it doesn't help just people with Tableau, it helps people with lots of other things beyond Tableau. Um, I've started covering Snowflake. I will cover more of it. I'm hoping to work with people that cover other technologies and tools. And so who knows what will happen with this over time. But I'd love this to become a community resource. TableauTim.com, the most frustrating part of this whole thing, my website is so bad. But honestly, if it wasn't for the website as well, a lot of people would struggle to find the videos. Actually, 4% of all my video watch time comes from my website, which is crazy, because that ranks above Twitter and WhatsApp and all these other things. So I'm going to be redesigning this. It's just long overdue. It's completely washed out, and I'm not passionate about the site because it's just broken in a lot of ways. But we're going to update that as well and kind of get that going. So part of becoming a media company is getting help, doing things properly, investing a little bit in the future, and making sure that all of this becomes like its own flywheel, and that there's not like a sudden moment where I've made a loss and I have to stop the channel or something. Or one of the great things is I don't have to have annoying sponsors on the channel at all. You've never seen me go, and now for this ad break, yes, YouTube puts ads because I can't stop those, but you've never seen me sort of have a sponsor on the channel say, hey, check out squarespace.com. Like, that stuff always feels a little bit out of kilter for me, because I don't know what you're interested in. I've not done market research on you. I don't want you to become the product either. That's just not that's not the agreement we enter to when you're looking for help with Tableau, right? You don't want to be sort of sold to. For the more generic content, maybe that's possible, but it's a little bit iffy, and I've actually struggled to work with sponsors. I nearly entered into a discussion with a sponsor towards the end of this year, because I was just looking at the help that I needed to do, and I just thought, a sponsor would really help that happen faster. But nah, I kind of just stayed away from it. We're just going to do it the slow, more sure way. We're going to keep going, poddling along, and see where we end up. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but hey, time will tell. So we will find out more about that in due course. So media company, I've kind of talked a bit about that. If you've got any questions, ask me in the comments. So a few people have asked, have you considered pushing the courses to Udemy as well? Number one, I don't make any courses. So actually, we're coming on to this in a second. Do you get consulting work through LinkedIn as well? I actually don't work for myself. I work for a company. Like, I work for a company called Aimpoint Digital. Let me just tell people about them, because you might as well, because you're probably want to know what I do for a living. So Aimpoint Digital, based in Atlanta, America. We have a UK office as well. And if I go to this, this is a good sort of diagram. So analytics, that's let's call the division or pillar that I work for. Decision science, data engineering, and infrastructure and strategy. Those are like the 4 different things that we do. And the great thing about that is I get to work with people who are good at all these other things that I'm not good at. So I learn a ton of things from them. And one of the reasons I came to the company is because I wanted to be exposed to more interesting uses of tools in the analytics space beyond just Tableau and Alteryx, which is sort of what I was doing a lot in my previous role. So I've learned a ton. It's just, I can't tell you how much I've learned this year alone since sort of moving over. like any company, like any consulting, I've been a consultant for 10 years. I can't sit here and tell you consulting is an easy gig. I'm not the kind of person to go out and sell myself, and I'm not good at that actually. I'm good at communicating, I'm good at making content. And so that's what I do. And a lot of people ask me, hey, you've got this, 70,000 subscriber channel. You could just, click your finger on Fiverr and get like £1,000 an hour and do this. And it's like, really? Well, the problem with those kind of gigs is you don't work on the really interesting stuff, right? So yes, on Fiverr, you might be asked to help out with the Tableau dashboard rebuild. Yes, you might be asked to like do a couple of things. But in order to do some really ambitious, aspirational work, you need to be part of a much bigger company with a much bigger pedigree of delivering results. And that means you're part of a team. And teams tend to work at, really reputable consultancies like your Accentures and so on and so forth. I've worked at Accenture. It was a great year and a bit. I wouldn't go back there for various reasons, but the people I worked with were fantastic. The work I did was really super interesting. But just the dynamic in the company just meant that I knew I was going to hit a dead end very, very, very quickly. And so Aimpoint is just fantastic. They're not paying me to say this. I am an employee, so maybe I'm biased a little bit. But yeah, you can see the tools that we work with here, the partners that we have, and there's also like I'm not going to call it a startup like feel, but we are a very small company, and compared to other consultancies, so I think probably at around 80 people. I don't know the exact number, but if I don't have to guess, I go to our team and you can count the number of people. So this is our team essentially, and if you scroll down, you can click on names and see what people do. I think this is an order of when people have joined. So you can see I've joined all the way down here, right? And since myself, everyone after me has joined since. So we're also growing really, really quickly. And I think that's super interesting for a consultancy in the current climate. It's super rare, really, that consultancies are growing as much as we are, as quickly as we are, and in my opinion, doing well. So go check out Aimpoint Digital. It's where I work, and you can find out more about sort of the core things that we do. So a little piece of important context, I think, to explain to people why I don't go out and sell myself on Fiverr. I don't need to. Aimpoint keeps me more than busy and entertained with some really interesting, amazing challenges. Datumbytes.io. So what is Datumbytes? So the quickest explanation to this is the question I was being asked about Udemy. If I had a penny for every time someone says, "Hey, do you have a Udemy course?" I think I would actually be rich, and maybe that's the hint I should be taking all this time. So let's just go to this. Let me go to my comments, and in here, I'm going to search. Can I search comments? Can I search? Yeah, here we go. Course. Search for course. The term course. So here we go. Like when I search for the term course, people ask me this all the time. Hey, can you recommend a course? Hey, would you suggest this course? Can you go to this course? So these are just searches of the term course on my channel. And some of these are, if I highlight the term course, you can kind of see this in more context. Paid for courses, Udemy. If I actually search specifically Udemy, I think this has been mentioned many times. So let's search for this and search. Let's do that and say, hey, people ask for this all the time, and I get some very persistent questions as well. Please make a Udemy course. Please make a Udemy course. I find those funny as well. If I made a course on Udemy, you wouldn't see me on YouTube, because the stuff on Udemy really requires the kind of lift. It requires me to be fully a content creator, not have a consulting job, and I need to spend what would be 4 months building something worthy of Udemy's sort of scale and time. So it doesn't work. I can't do that kind of thing, not in my own setup. What I can do is something slightly different, which is to make my own courses on my own platform that I think can help people learn about analytics, not just Tableau. And the important thing that I have that I think is unique is that I've been working in analytics for 10 years, well over 10 years now. I've been a consultant for 10 years. So I've worked at over 50 companies answering the same old question of how do you get data from A to B in a way that answers the question. And the context about that is that when you're learning Tableau, I think it's very easy to get caught up on what I do on my channel, learning about the technical capabilities. But there's a softer side to things. There's a more subtle explanation to the way things work with data, the way data is handled, the way you build conversations and you build teams that enable data products to be successful. And that's a very nuanced kind of thing. And YouTube is good for that kind of content, but my channel isn't that place. It's not really suitable. And the kind of investment and time I need to make into that makes that sort of a really difficult thing. The other thing is, if I wanted to do something like that on YouTube, to put like, let's say 40 hours of content on YouTube, no one would ever be able to watch all 40 hours without YouTube putting Mr. Beast in at least half of those people's timelines, right? So you just get distracted all the time. So there is a value to making a dedicated learning platform of your own that you control, that you can then get people to sort of go to. So that's essentially what Datumbytes.io is. Now, I'm going to click on this link, and I guarantee you this is not going to work. Exactly, yes. This was never going to work. I knew it wasn't going to work because the website is still being built, and I think the version of the website I have in my mind is actually a back-end login for something else that I shouldn't really even be showing you. But Datumbytes is something you probably have already seen. So if you see here my other channels, we do have a YouTube channel set up. And so what I'm going to be doing next year, when I said earlier on, I'm only going to be spending half my time on the YouTube channel. The other half is going to be spent on this YouTube channel. So I'm not leaving YouTube, but I'm going to be pushing all my, let's call this help style content, general explainers, how-to explainers for Tableau towards this channel. And it's not going to start at the beginning of the year. But the focus on Datumbytes will actually be about putting this in context of learning about other tools as well. So we'll be talking about Tableau, we'll talk about Snowflake, we'll talk about Alteryx, we'll talk about the tools that I've used in my career. I'm doing this with a business partner. His name is Andre. So Andre and I have teamed up to get this platform set up. He's a very talented developer. You know, for the level of capability I have in making videos, Andre is about 5x that when it comes to development. He's just on another level. So he's able to think about platforms, think about how these platforms come together. And he's also worked in consulting just like me with the same skills around Tableau, Alteryx, Snowflake, DBT, and all these other things. And he has a job in a company that builds tools that are focused around data as well. So he understands it from lots of different angles. And I think it's super important to have an analytics learning platform built by two people who've worked in the industry for so long and have actually got to the point where they've not just worked in it, they've not just sort of done it, they've not just delivered it, but Andre and I have both done tons and tons of training. Andre probably has trained more people in person than I have in person at all. So between the two of us, we've got this incredible capability to bring sort of what I think is almost going to be 20 years of insight into how we teach content. So my plan, at least for next year, is to make Datumbytes the single best place to learn Tableau. And you're probably thinking, oh, it's going to be a paid platform. Yes, it will be a typical course platform where you'll be able to go and get your Udemy-like content, but there is a philosophical thing about this, which is, you know, Andre and I came to Tableau from a place where we learned what we needed to from the internet. It was freely available. And so we're working to try and make sure that we can keep the core of what we make always available. So let's say, as a very simple example, let's say we put a Tableau, you know, master course, 50 hours of Tableau. A thing you'd get on Udemy is, here's a flash sale, access this now, you know, £30 for the whole thing, download and keep for lifetime. The problem with those is you download them, you don't watch them. What we're thinking of doing, and it's just an idea, so nothing's confirmed at this point, is we're going to try and make sure that, like, when you sign up to something like that, you actually commit a bit to the time. So if you're going to do a 50-hour course, we're going to ask you, well, hey, how much time do you have a week? And we're going to sort of spread that out over time. and we're going to say, hey, this course will take you roughly this amount of time. So let's spread that out. And let's say you don't want to pay for it, or coming across the funds to pay for a course is somewhat difficult. We might be able to find a way of batching the content into even smaller chunks so that our hosting and bandwidth costs can allow for that to work. We've also thought of things like, if you get a membership, you'll always get what is the equivalent of a gym pass for a friend for at least 1 month. So every month you'll be able to give someone access to the platform to learn alongside you, because we think learning is social. We've got lots of these great ideas sort of sitting there, that sort of waiting to be deployed. So next year, we're going to be sort of standing this up. There's not going to be a big launch day. It's going to be something that's going to slowly build up. But once we get the page up and running, we'll get a sign-up page for people who are interested. We'll be inviting people to help us with beta testing and everything like that. And going back to that certification piece, I want to solve that certification piece in a more interesting and fun way. And dare I say, AI is also making learning a very, very interesting thing. Something LinkedIn is doing at the moment is they've launched a search feature where when you ask or search for something, it can actually answer the question based on the videos that it's got on LinkedIn Learning. So it can actually get the answer out of LinkedIn Learning, respond to you, and then show you the video it's referenced. Super interesting stuff. So I'm super excited about this. We kind of played around with the names of the logo. The logo is actually, it started off as a creation by a designer that we got off Fiverr actually. And then I ended up enhancing it myself because I wasn't quite happy with the design. So the logo is actually a little bit of a riff on something that we got from a designer. I completely took it and sort of redid it along with Andre's support over in Figma. So that was pretty fun. So yeah. So let's look back at the comments. A few more comments. Consulting, big companies, you get what cool toys, that's good to know. Yeah, platforms, yeah. Over the years and experience in the BI Tableau space, how much of pipeline building versus data retrieval do you do? I'll come to this in a second. We're actually about to get to the AMA. That is very much the next thing. So I'll call this sort of done. I'll strike this through, and now we'll sort of answer some of these questions. So let me add this to the broadcast. So let's start with this one. Over the years, in your experience in the BI Tableau space, how much of pipelines building versus data retrieval do you do? I actually have some data to back this up. It's not in a format I could show you now, but I will clean it up and show it to you one time. Typically, in a consulting job that involves Tableau, I will spend 80 to 90% of my time not in Tableau. That is because I think in my first year of Tableau, I spent 90% of my time in Tableau. Then I realized that most of the problems could be solved by solving the data problems. And then when I started solving the data problems, I realized I needed to spend less time in Tableau because I was architecturing the data to work really, really well inside of Tableau. So I spent most of my time in actually another tool called Alteryx, and that is what I've spent sort of a lot of my time in. Whenever Alteryx has been available, that's what I've used. More recently, DBT, sometimes SQL, but truly speaking and strictly speaking, if you're thinking about your skills for the future, don't learn Tableau or a BI tool without learning a data prep or data modeling tool. I think those two are super important. You can't go out and build analytical pipelines unless you intimately understand where the data is coming from, how you're going to bring it together. Can you even bring it together? So often that's a sort of a misunderstood concept. People just think I have data there and I have data there, smash it up. Well, there might be the wrong levels of detail to be able to bring them together. You might not be able to have a common relationship between those two. Has it been captured correctly? All of these things, we could go on for days. That kind of work is fundamental, and that's the kind of work that's not going to be replaced by AI. So going forward, if you still want to be working with Tableau, just make sure you have decent data prep, data engineering skills, and I think you'll be in good stead because I think that will be a requirement for Tableau work going forward. Gym Pass for online learning is a great idea. Thank you, Brent. Yeah, we're gonna try and sort of riff on that a little bit. I think learning is a social thing, always. Very rarely do you get people who are just watching or learning something, and then what they go do, they go and show off those skills, and then you see those skills and you think, oh, wow, how did that person learn that skill? And yeah, I think why not make that social? And that should just be a general part of all platforms. But anyway, we'll try it out. Gym Buddy Pass. I love that. That's a great idea. I'll bear that in mind as well. So thank you. But yeah, we're now into the sort of AMA part of it. Someone asked earlier on about Tableau jobs and Outlook. Let me do this actually. This is we don't need to screen share anymore. Let's do this. So let me rearrange a few things actually now that we're almost towards the end and doing AMAs. Let me move this onto the screen. Let me cough. Earlier on, someone asked about sort of the Tableau Outlook and everything else. Now, I think the tough thing with Tableau jobs is it's difficult to know. I don't think Tableau jobs is the thing to track. I think the thing to track is the industry that Tableau's in. So if you're worried about whether your Tableau role is going to be around in the future, I think you've got a lot more transferable skills than you realize to be just worrying about Tableau jobs. I think the bigger thing to worry about is where is the industry moving? And you have skills in that direction. In my opinion, these things kind of go around in cycles. I think there is a big shift going on in the analytics and BI space. I'm not sure where it's going, but I do know that AI is part of that narrative. I know that data engineering is part of that narrative. And I know that building dashboards less is also part of that narrative. Those three things I'm absolutely certain about. And so if you kind of piece those three things together, what you realize is that things is not going to change are building data sources better, understanding how to bring those data sources in the more modern places. So by modern places, I'm not talking about databases. I'm talking about newer databases, cloud-native databases like Databricks, Snowflake, using technologies like DBT if you need them, or Alteryx if you're used to data prep. Those are going to be pretty sort of important things to understand. And every platform does them differently. So, learn the one that's relevant to your industry specifically. And I think you'll be in a really good space and you won't be worried about jobs at all. I always find YouTube. I'm one of these people, so I'm actually critiquing myself. I find analytics content creators super frustrating because we show you videos on how to do things technically, and we're like, hey, I'm going to show you in 10 minutes how to do 1, 2, 3, and so we show you how to do 1, 2, 3, and we get it done. And at the end of it, you walk away as a viewer going, oh, now I know how to use 1, 2, 3, and so you go to your job. And you do it once, you do it twice, and it's worked, and you're super happy. You're like, I learned that thing, great, perfect, okay. But then 3 months later, you're stuck on something else. You go learn that, you learn that, you learn that. Now, all of these sort of little things, they're things that I think you would have learned anyway. You would have come across them some other way. You just wouldn't have come across them as soon as you did, maybe because you looked online and you found the stuff. But the skills that are really hard to teach, the things you don't really easily see, are what we do behind the scenes, like our charisma, our personalities, our communication skills, our project management skills. All of these things that people take for granted in consulting, it's how to handle the client, it's how to manage the project, it's how to get things across the finish line, how to deal with difficult clients. So many different things that I just don't see alongside the technical piece. And the skill is marrying them together in a way that almost seems seamless to the person who's on the receiving end of them. So as a consultant, that will be the client. As a data analyst, it'll be your colleagues in the business, right? So there are not many courses on that, and it's not very easy to find the videos. And if you find the videos, they can be very difficult to relate to because the industries are different. Being an analyst in, fast-moving consumer goods is just completely different to being an analyst in manufacturing. Just completely different industries. And so you have different norms and different ways of working, same set of technical skills, same set of maybe knowledge skills, but soft skills are entirely different. So I always say to people, gravitate in the direction that you know is working in your industry. Look at the commonalities of the industry and the tools in those industries and learn those skill sets. And that way you'll always be moving yourself in a direction that's pretty much where the wind is blowing. Okay. Currently use this is Macy J R Matt. YouTube names are awful. I think the names people type sometimes. I wish it just sort of showed you like a nickname, like like Reddit has sometimes, right? It has a nickname. I think it'd be sort of a little bit easy. But anyway, let me try and read this comment. I currently use Tableau Prep in my job, but I heard a lot about Alteryx. Is it possible to learn/test it without some kind of demo version? Unfortunately, not. But man, I've been playing around with the idea. I've been using Alteryx for 9 years. This is crazy. Like, not many people know this, but I spend more time in Alteryx than I have in Tableau in the last 9 years, without a shadow of a doubt. I can tell you that out of the gate. I don't make videos about it because they've not shown that they have. How do I say this? They've not landed their cloud product, and that has really stopped me suggesting it to people as something to go to, um, in respect of let me rephrase that. Alteryx, I think, has thrown away an opportunity over the years to be the leader that it was with the innovative interface it had. And so I've used it as a Swiss Army knife. And the Swiss Army knife is great until you realize, when you get dedicated tools for everything, that the dedicated tools are always better than the Swiss Army knife. And that's sort of the point I'm trying to make. Alteryx can do so many things. I'd be here forever making videos about how to solve tons of little small problems. Broadly what it is, it's in the same sort of high level group as DBT. It's the same high level group as, I don't know, Tableau Prep, writing your SQL statements to do, data modeling and stuff like that. Is it more powerful than Tableau Prep? 300% yes. Like, Alteryx wipes the floor compared to Tableau Prep completely. Just wins everything. If I could only take one tool, if you said to me, right, for the next 5 years, Tim, you can only use one analytics tool in your entire setup. You can never touch anything else. You can only take one piece of software with you for the next 5 years to do any job in analytics. It would be Alteryx Designer. Simple as that. Like, to do analytics, build charts, I'd still use Alteryx Designer. Why? Because Alteryx Designer allows me to model the data exactly how I want it to get the answer that I want. I can do that every single time. And the ability to then repeat that process very quickly, it's very easy to learn, in my opinion. Yeah. So to the question about, is there a demo version? Well, yes, if you get in touch with Alteryx, it's 14 days. I think if you can't get some value out of Alteryx within 5 days, it's probably not the right tool for you. So I think 14 days is more than generous. Get your Tableau Prep flow, get some Alteryx training ahead of time, activate your trial after the training, and then get going, basically. And that's how I think you sort of approach that. But Alteryx is a fantastic tool. Everyone should consider it. Right, Peter, let's look at this one. So, how does data prep in Python, Pandas, or similar fit in the analytics role today? How do you see the distinction between data engineering, data science, and data analytics in this moment? Oh, that's such a tough question. Man, there's a lot there. Right. First, let's start with my perspective. I don't do data prep in Python at all. I rarely have to, because the clients I tend to work with don't want to do data prep in Python. They tend to have their data prep done in a database, or they tend to have their data modeled for them, or you tend to write a request and have that done. So maybe someone in the organization is using Python to get that done, but it's just not the sort of typical thing that I do. And most of my clients wouldn't do this either, because they work in setups where they need highly repeatable types of analysis. And at least for many of the organizations that I've worked with, Python hasn't been seen as the way to do that quickly. It's been more Alteryx, it's been more Tableau Prep, it's been maybe more DBT, or just SQL, basically, to get the remainder of that stuff done, because they can hire for those things very, very quickly. That said, if you're in a younger, much smaller company, then yeah, you definitely will be using Python. Have I used Python this year to do some data wrangling and stuff? Yes, but it's just not the most common thing I see. Now, um, when we talk about its importance in analytics roles, I'll go back to what I said earlier, which is whatever you're doing, whatever data prep you're doing, the tool doesn't matter. In my opinion, the tool frankly doesn't matter. What matters more is the actual techniques you're using. I know it sounds so basic, but like some things like doing a join or a VLOOKUP in Excel, right? Like things like unions, things like cleaning up data, things like aligning things, splitting things, all of those little things, and they seem small, but in cumulative sense, when you pair them up in the right order, at the right time, in the right place, and they achieve a certain outcome, that is really what data prep and potentially data modeling is about, right? Really extracting what you need from what can be unstructured or structured data and getting it to where you need it to be to do the analysis. Everything you do in between those steps is a transferable skills. It doesn't matter what you're doing it in. It doesn't matter how you do it. What matters is that you can do it. So it is 110% vital for the analytics role today. Now, in the industry and context you work in, if Python is a tool that everyone's using, then you've got to be good at Python. In my industry, it tends to be Alteryx, it tends to be Tableau Prep, it tends to be SQL, it tends to be DBT. So those are the things I have to be ready to use. Okay, so that's sort of some context there. Now, the second half of your question, I'll put the question up again. How do you see the distinction between data engineering, data science, and data analytics in this moment? Now, that is a super tough question. I'll split it into what I think is the picture. let me start by tackling data engineering. I hate the term data engineering because I think it's always existed. It's always been something that people have done. It's just that the need for it has grown so much that it's become a specialist. It was a specialist thing when it first sort of emerged in the industry, and now it's become like a pretty big role. So there are lots of data engineers today. I think personally, data engineering is essentially a role that focuses on the piping of data from one place to another, but not storing it and not visualizing it. So it's sort of data engineering to me is a middle piece. Think of data engineering as the conductor of an orchestra. They don't play the instrument, but they tell all the instruments what to do and when so that the audience can enjoy the music, right? So data engineering to me is the conductor of an orchestra. Data science are the people playing the instruments to get the data to do what it needs to do, to capture the data and extract what it needs to at the right time to get the right notes out of the instruments. And data analytics is the audience that's actually consuming that, so listening to that and hearing the things. Oh, did you hear that? Did you hear that? Did that crescendo make you feel the same way as I felt it? That to me is analytics. So sorry to use like an orchestral analogy, but to me that's sort of how I sort of separate the three. And moving forward, I think every organization kind of merges some aspects of that. So you maybe get people who are both data engineers and data analysts at the same time. You maybe get data scientists who dabble a bit in data engineering. I think it's unlikely to only be doing one of these things in your role, regardless of whether you're an engineer, science, or analytics. And then the final thing is data analytics, I think, is changing. The approach to data analytics is changing. I think the practice isn't changing. What the outcome isn't changing. But the approach to analytics is changing in the current moment. It's a bit like what I said earlier on, where I think what is happening is that we're in a place where the way in which analytics is delivered in an organization needs to change. AI, some other capabilities, and a little bit of that data engineering piece are all changing the mix of how that comes together. And over the next few years, that will sort of play out. But it's really difficult to sort of sit here and be a prophet about it because I don't know. I just do the work and I get it done. As someone who's super interested in Tableau, I just read the tea leaves for Tableau's perspective, and I just kind of try and get as much as I can from that. But nonetheless, I think in this current moment, all three of those are super interesting sort of tools. Sorry, areas to be interested in. I would just get good at one. I don't think you can be a good data engineer and a good data scientist simultaneously. I think to be really good at you have to pick a niche in many ways. In most roles, you can't be a generalist forever. So yes, when you start out, do a bit of everything, understand what you're passionate at. But as you get more and more experience, you have to sort of choose a path. I chose analytics. I don't profess to know a lot about data engineering. I don't profess to know a lot about data science, but I can talk to data scientists and engineers in the terms that they know and bring them together to achieve an outcome. That's about as much as I know. But I don't need to know much more than that. When it comes to analytics, I'd like to think I have a deep knowledge in that and I can go all the way through, maybe technical, maybe non-technical as well. So yeah. Have I ever used DBT? Yes, I have. My opinion is it's fantastic. It's really good. I was scared of using it actually ages ago. I was really kind of annoyed. This whole thing of writing. DBT, for everyone's benefit, is like, I think of it as a layer on top of SQL. So instead of writing really long, complicated SQL statements, you can write slightly shorter SQL-like statements in DBT. I know that's a bad paraphrasing, but what that allows you to do is to treat your SQL more like code. And when you can treat your SQL more like code, you can take advantage of all the benefits of things like version control, all the benefits of borrowing code from over there and putting it over here. Things like lineage suddenly becomes easier because if everything's just essentially, a form of code, you can track a metric all the way through the different sort of iterations of it being transformed, pivoted, calculations being done, and all the way through to the analytics use case at the end. And so DBT by default gives you a little bit more visibility of that and allows teams at scale to do that very quickly, but still be writing what is supposed to be good SQL because DBT takes care of sort of running that on in the background. So if you're using Tableau Prep and you're kind of thinking, well, what tool should I go use next? Alteryx is one. DBT is way more accessible. You can definitely get a free trial of that. So go check that out. And I think you'll find it a very interesting approach. And I think there are merits to it as well. So in the Tableau space, it's not used as much because Tableau and DBT haven't really built the tight integration you'd want to see. But some people have got it to work and they're getting it to work nicely. So definitely worth checking that out. As a matter of priority, will you be publishing the order of content releases you mentioned, perhaps by quarter? Apex Smart, that is the kind of thing I'd do if I was a full-time content creator. I can't publish a content release plan because I'm not a full-time content creator. So I make videos when I can, how I can, essentially. I've thought about publishing here's a list of videos I'm working on. But what you would see would be an absolute mess. And I think what people see now is that they just see the videos as they come out, and I tell people they're coming out, and you get what you get, essentially. And I think people are happy and they find that content useful. Majority of people actually don't find that content when I share it. Most people, 80% of people, get it from search. So they're searching for it and they find it. So because that's the sort of the most predominant method, I don't think I need to publish a timeline. That said, I can, and I don't see what's wrong with it. Maybe I should. In all honesty, if I'm moving to less videos but higher quantity and quality, maybe I can show you the next 5 videos that I'm working on, so you know what's coming and you can sort of plan your thing around that. I guess I'm just scared of committing to something, and that's really my problem. But media companies commit to stuff all the time, right? That's why they have trailers for it. So, so maybe I need to just get with the program, and I'll take your feedback on board, and we'll take that on. So Mr. Petissime. So it's more like PL SQL. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, that's very fair. Or what I'd say to everyone is, honestly, if you just gave yourself a weekend, you said you're going to try DBT, Alteryx, and whatever other tools you have, give yourself generally 3 hours with each. I think all of the tools today, if they can't prove to you what they are good at in 3 hours, they're not worth your time. They're not worth sort of sticking around for. And so even Tableau, if you can't, from a newbie, get into Tableau within 3 hours, and you genuinely give it those 3 hours, it's probably not a tool for you, because these are tools that are supposed to enhance your work. They're not supposed to make it painful. So if you follow their examples, follow their demos, they should give you demo environments. You're normally able to get right into all that content really, really quickly, and then just get a feel for, okay, this is quite useful. Oh, this would be interesting. That would be good. Now let me try this with my data. You can kind of get a good feel for that. The kicker though, is you can't use these platforms with your real work data, because that probably goes against rules within your workplace. So you always need to try and contextualize some of these trials you're doing outside of work, and bring a use case, bring an example that you can recreate a mock data set for, and try it in these platforms. Snowflake, as an example, allows you to create a free trial for, I think it's a 30-day free trial. So if you have a few emails, you can create quite a few trials. So let's just say that's one approach you could take to trying things out in a database setup and pairing up with something like a DBT or something else. So you can find creative ways to get around those kinds of barriers. I'm going to cough. So yeah, that is it. Let's we've been going for 2 hours 15 minutes. That is a long live stream, people. Everyone's very loyal. God. Let's see. 7 people on LinkedIn. Okay, great. Let's see what's going on here. Oh, I made this larger, so it made itself smaller. No one left a comment on LinkedIn. I'm super surprised by that. But tons of comments here on YouTube. I'm just looking at the screen over here on my left. I would show you what the view is like from here. Can I actually? I think I can. Hold on. I think I can. Just before we close the stream, let me see. Can I? Oh, my phone ran out of battery. That's why it's not showing up. Okay. Let's get my phone on. I can just put it on charger. I only need it to work for like 2 seconds, and then I'll show you. What I'll do is I'll show you the view. I mean, the view from my laptop webcam isn't that different. It just shows you what's behind me, which is slightly different angle. You can see a door and some not so nice on that side of the room, because that's where all my junk is pre-live stream. My phone is coming online, so what I think I can do is I'll just connect my phone to the software, and I think I'll be able to use it as a webcam, a roaming webcam specifically. Was it going to let me do this? So let's go back to this one. No, it's not going to let me do this. Oh, that's annoying. I'm really sorry. Oh no. Yes, it is. Okay. But I need to charge my phone. 1 second. So I have a charger. This is a bit tricky. I don't have a long enough charger, but 1% is not going to last that long either. What do I do? Why do I not have a charging cable? That is so sick. Oh, it's because it's downstairs. Never mind. Right, we're going to wrap up. But in that time, I'm hoping my phone can charge Hanya, you're still here. Honestly, you're too loyal. You're too loyal. Um, I'll nudge you after the live stream. But what I'm gonna do to end the stream, we're gonna just see how long this lasts for, okay? And I'm gonna hit click to start. I'm gonna connect it to Tim's MacBook. Okay, so it's already working. And then we're just gonna go back here, and you can see what the live stream setup is like. So it's an absolute tip over here because I'm in the middle of doing like some IKEA rehashing and everything over here, right? So I've got tons of stuff on the floor. I've got books on the floor, everything, but everything behind me is obviously lovely for the live stream. And so this is what I've been looking at to get everything going. So yeah, let me put this back on the charger before my phone screams and says, hey, too much going on. And yeah, we can disconnect this and we can get back to this camera. So yeah, there you go. Absolute tip. Absolute absolute dive. But we're working through a bit of a sort of a redo of the room and organizing a few things. And so I've got everything in kind of limbo. Actually, yesterday did not have a desk to record from, so pretty lucky that I got everything done. I love that it ended on a picture of a Coke can. I should have got Coke to sponsor me. That would have been a good use of their marketing budget. Anyway, thank you so much everyone for watching. It's been a terribly long live stream. I can't believe so many of you have watched this. It always amazes me when people spend as much time as they do watching me just babble on for hours. What I will probably do is I'll take this video, it's 2 hours, it's way too long. I'll chop it up into lots of small segments related to what I was talking about, and we'll just put them up, and I'll just put a prefix to say hey. So if you want to catch some of those, I'll put them up as separate videos. I'll aim to do that today and tomorrow, he says. I don't know how, but yeah, I'll aim to do that in the next 3 days. We'll just upload them one by one to sort of top that out, and then yeah, we'll call it a day there. I'm starting to get unwell. I'm coughing more, which means I've been talking for a long time, which means I think it's time to end the stream. So we're going to end it here. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and yeah, I'll catch you soon. Oh, Benjamin, he just came in with a comment at the last minute, and as I was reading that as I was saying goodbye. So let me just try and understand it. What is your point about getting familiar with statistics before delving into data analytics? Okay, so I think, Benjamin, I think what you meant to say is, what is your opinion about getting familiar with statistics before delving into data analytics? Not necessary. Useful, but not necessary. Data analytics and statistics are not the same thing. Statistics is more aligned with research, understanding the behavior of people, the behavior of patterns and trends in data. But data analytics is not just statistics. It's a bunch of other things as well. Analytics is also about storing the data. It's about moving the data a little bit. It's about building useful stories that actually help people understand and manage their businesses, as Tableau would like you to say. It's also about communicating data. It's also about visual analytics, a practice within data analytics, right? Analytics itself is also a pretty complicated thing, and you can branch from analytics to go do web analytics, sports analytics, property analytics. There's so many different cuts of analytics. Statistics is part of all of those, but it's not a necessary part. So that's sort of my opinion. I did maths A level, but I wasn't very good at maths. Like, let's just get that absolutely clear. That doesn't mean I can't work in data analysis, right? What it actually means to work in data analytics is understanding the concepts around analytics, not statistics. So that's super important. But anyway, we're going to end it there. That was the last question. Thanos, thank you. I now know to call you that. Apex, Peter, Benjamin. I think we had was it Jasmine at the very beginning as well? Yeah, we did. Yeah, there's Jasmine. Yeah. So many people have asked so many great questions as well. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time. We'll end it there. Thank you. When I hit end, it does take a while to actually end it, so you might see me for a while. It's a bit of it's like an awkward Zoom hang up session, but yeah, we're going to stop it there and we'll catch you soon.